And we're on. Hi, everybody. It's
Hi.
normal. And we are your hosts. I am Rachel. And then we have...
I'm Kaz. What up, Pete?
I'm so tired from last night, even though it wasn't late.
You know, it's so funny. So on the way home, so for those of you who don't know, we did a really cool investigation that for the first time, I think pretty much, not ever, but for first time, teens were allowed. So I brought my teen stepdaughter, and halfway home, we were like, blah, 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 and then it just went, boom, and she was like, oh, like a zombie. And by the time we get home, she just went straight to bed. And I'm like, see, that's what happens in a ghost hunt. It exhausts you.
It does. It really does. It sucks your energy. So yeah, so we did a public investigation at the Pickering Public Library, and it was a teen event, teen young adults, and there was adults there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an event. It was free. All they had to do was register.
Mm-hmm.
Great things about public libraries. But we investigated their library because they were having some, weird things happen. There's a lot of reports of a lady that people see, especially upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
We and Kaz, so we split them in a group. So it was me and Kaz as investigators for one group, and Allison and Paula from the Paranormal Seekers were taking the other group. And I think we got the most.
I want to start off by saying, sometimes when we go to a place, I'm not going to lie, we show up and I'm like, probably not going to be overly excited. I'll prepare myself for a couple of hours of snooze. And last night was not that at all. It started off a bit like, la, 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 and then quickly we were like, okay, shit.
Yeah. So I won't say too much about what happened, but what we can say is, like, there was one point where we're all at the back of the library in, like, the kids section. And I didn't see it. I don't think anybody saw it until the library staff pointed it out. But I guess one of the library staff heard a click and turned to see, oh, that's a weird click. And there was a light fixture, like, hanging and, like, swinging so hard. And I think we officially scared them off.
And this was, imagine, like an inverted light fixture. Like, what are those called? Those lights with the bulbs that are long.
The fluorescent ones?
There you go. Fluorescent lights. So they're inside the ceiling. This thing had come out and was swinging violently. And when we went to check it out, because we're like, okay, whatever, maybe it simply slipped out. But whatever. It literally has clips that you have to squeeze to unclip to take it out. And these clips weren't broken. Okay. And I said, has someone, maybe replaced a bulb lately so they just didn't click it? She's like, no, nothing.
Yeah.
And we were all like, gaga.
Yeah. And, like, what, 2 days? So yesterday was Saturday. On Wednesday, we were there as a team doing a presentation. And it's really funny because that light fixture was exactly, like, right over top of where we were standing when we were talking to everybody.
I mean, right before the investigation, we were standing there.
Yeah.
Saying hi to people.
Yeah, because that's where we had all of our stuff, and we were offloading and taking everything out and setting it up.
And there were other things hanging from the ceiling. I guess, like, extension cords you can pull down. Nothing else was moving. And this thing, like, swinging violently for quite some time. I honestly don't know how it didn't fall out. The way it was swinging so hard, I was waiting for the but it didn't. But that was one of the most violent and unusual things I've seen on an investigation. I mean, we see doors close and stuff, but this had force.
Yeah. It also had gravity helping it too, right? Because it came down.
And there's not, like, there is an upstairs level, but I don't know that there would have been anyone there.
No, it doesn't go over. I don't think that portion goes over top.
Girl, what? It was great. So go on to the Paranormal Seekers website or Instagram. I'm sure I'm going to upload the video.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for the stuff. Shout out to the stuff. There are CCTV cameras my hands have gone. In the library. So they're going to run that and see if they actually capture the whole thing. Because there was a camera right there. It was wild. And just prior to it, we had been connecting with a spirit, and we said, would you like us to move to a different location in the library? And it basically was like, no, it's dangerous. And then the light thing fell down. And we were like, okay, we'll just stay right here.
Yeah,
Good times.
Yeah. That was great. That was some good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But big shout out to Megan from the Pickering Public Library for one, putting this all on and getting everything ready for us, and for two, for listening to this podcast.
Number one fan. Yes. I love it.
Oh my
if you
gosh.
want a shout out, message us and we'll shout out Julie Winnemelka.
Yeah, for free. Trust me, we don't pay. Well, if you want to pay us money, whatever. But
we do a cameo thing on someone's phone.
Oh my gosh, yeah, we totally could. Oh my gosh, that'd be weird. Who'd want something from?
I know. I don't know. It would just be me swearing, because that's all that happens when we're on investigations and something happens, and I'm like, shit, and then we can't use half the footage because it's just me swearing. But that could be your voicemail for the low sum of $100. I don't know, whatever. Of $2,000 to buy us a Geoport. There you go.
There you go.
I'm on
it. The donation bin is now open. Please, no. Oh my god. Oh wow. Lord. This is too early for us because we're actually doing this right now. It's not even noon, but somebody here is leaving this country.
Sure am.
For a tropical destination on the coldest week of the year. So yeah.
I'm like, oh, is it going to be cold? I'm sorry. I'll be by the pool. Peace.
Yeah, she just, yeah. But yeah, but today's topic is all about the East Coast. Well, not really all about, just one province out there. We're going to talk about Nova Scotia because, we did was it haunted hotels or something like that?
Yeah, somebody basically like a road trip across. Yeah, and because I was saving the best last. I'm like, this needs a whole entire episode. There you go. That's what I'm saying to my Scotia peeps.
Oh my god. So I have been to Nova Scotia, surprisingly.
Oh,
I have.
It doesn't fly.
It didn't fly. We drove. The worst part of that drive is the 8 hours through Quebec. That's the worst part of the drive. It's
crazy how long it takes to get out of like Ontario into somewhere else. I should also mention at the time, I believe I was 16 and everybody else in the vehicle was like 16, 17. And it was for Girl Guides. What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was fun. It was fun. I did visit one of the places on my list, and I got a story for that. It wasn't really a ghosty story. It was more like somebody took something from the fort. Me. It wasn't me.
Sure.
It wasn't
wink.
No, it wasn't me.
For legal reasons, we cannot disclose.
Yeah, that was somebody else from the group. I won't name names. Long time ago.
Right.
I'll tell you later.
Yes. If you'd like to know the name of the person, send us $100. We're gonna get the Geoport.
We get that real quick.
Exactly.
So yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll start off because I'm the one that has the most.
Yes.
All right. So let's start off with two from me. So I looked up. So apparently the Bedford Basin in Nova Scotia is haunted. Apparently
what?
The Bedford. What?
I said, which is what?
I'm going to explain. So the Bedford Basin is an enclosed bay that forms the northwestern end of Halifax Harbor.
Oh.
And apparently it's haunted by a rowboat.
I thought you were going to say a robot. And I'm like, okay. But no, a rowboat, which I don't, is not any... What? Like an actual haunted boat just sails in.
Apparently the sound of someone rowing has been heard on foggy nights.
Okay. Well, I think this episode needs to end. This is ridiculous. A rowboat.
Although the boat has never been seen.
Okay. Oh
So
my
legend
God.
has that it is the ghostly sound that's left of a dory, so I guess a little rowboat, full of fishermen who perished when their boat capsized.
Ooh.
The whole new meaning to row, row, row your boat.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So
We are in Nova
it's
Scotia, so
the sailors then, or the fishermen, that
I
not
guess,
the
but
boat itself.
they don't hear the people on the boat. They don't hear the ghost. They just hear the boat.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Wow.
So that was just a tiny little one to start with because we're in Nova Scotia and, apparently,
Oh, we're off to a great start.
Next I have Peggy's Cove, which everybody knows Peggy's Cove.
Yeah.
So one of the most famous ghost stories from Peggy's Cove is that of the ghost of the lady in blue. At least she's not the lady in gray or white, but
Oh, wait, yes.
she's still in blue. According to the legend, Peggy's Cove was named after the only survivor of a schooner, so a boat, that ran aground and sank in 1800. And this girl, her name was Margaret. And she was taken in by one of the local families, I guess, who rescued her. Locals called her Peggy or Peggy of the Cove from where she was found, I guess. And some say she married a local man and settled in a fishing village before she moved to the States.
Oh, so she didn't die.
Not. As the story goes, there was a woman who traveled from Europe to Canada hoping for a better life for herself and her two children. Unfortunately, she didn't have enough money to bring her children with her, but hoped to earn enough money to be reunited with her children. So she settled in the village of Peggy's Cove, and she married a local man who was very kind to her. Because, So one day, because that just
Exactly.
had to put that in there. So one day she was sitting on the rocks, just daydreaming about her children, and was very sad because she missed them. Her new husband joined her on the rocks, and seeing that she was feeling down, he tried to cheer her up by singing and dancing on the rocks. As he was dancing, he slipped and fell on the rocks, and he died instantly. The locals found him later, but there was no sign of her. Some say that she felt responsible for his death, and she took her own life by just falling into the ocean.
Okay.
It's kind of
I have
subtle.
some questions here. So she's
Even
like,
now I'm looking at it going, wait a second, did he really fall?
Yeah.
Or
so she's like, sayonara, kids. I'll be back. Wink, never comes back. Then she meets a guy who's, quote, nice, has money, and then mysteriously dances into off the rocks. Sure.
So even to this day, some people have seen this mysterious lady in blue. It has been said that she looks like she's about ready to jump into the water. And when someone tries to help, she just disappears.
Interesting.
Yeah. They question if the lady in blue is the only spirit that haunts Peggy's Cove. Because there has been countless deaths throughout its history, from people getting too close to the waves and being sucked out into the ocean. There was the Swiss Air disaster in September of 1998 where that plane, this is why Rachel doesn't fly, blew up. Yeah.
Oh.
Crash, blew up. Yeah. I think it was a bomb. I think I'd have to really double check. I don't really follow airplane crashes.
Okay.
But yeah, lots of stuff happened there.
Okay.
So maybe there's more than just the lady in blue.
What about her husband? Isn't he like a bit pissed that he slipped, quote unquote, got pushed off because she was like, you call that a dance? Boom.
He found, but I had it down here that the locals found him later.
Oh, I thought they didn't find his body.
Wouldn't you freak out if your husband just fell into, knocked himself out and fell into the ocean? Would you be freaking out, screaming to get help? Not just.
Maybe she did though, but I mean, if it's like waves and everything, he probably got taken off real fast. So maybe they just couldn't help or find him. Or she was like, just casually strolled off and then was like, oh, I don't know what. He must have fallen in.
Oopsies.
Who knows?
Peggy's Cove.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the haunted rowboat that came and got him.
Hey, you never know.
All right. Well, on to mine, which are actual places that are not haunted, fabricated boats or something. Okay. So the first one that I'm going to do is the Acadia University, the Seminary House. This is in Wolfville, Nova Scotia. So this building was built in 1878. It is a finishing school for women that was created by progressive Baptist leaders. It served as the residence and the classrooms until 1881, when the students were allowed to attend the actual college, which is on the grounds up. It is located at the center of the 250-acre campus. It's in an L-shaped building, and it has 2.5 stories, and it is the oldest facility associated with upper level women's education. So it was kind of a big deal because women, weren't overly regarded much.
Mhm.
And so for this to be created, and specifically for women to achieve much higher education, more than just like learn how to sew, it was a big deal for them. In 1997, it has been designated as a historic site. And I couldn't really find much whether or not you can go do tours, but I kind of get the impression you can go and check it out. I mean, it's still a usable campus, but for some reason, I feel like it's a place that you can go in and see. Just go there. Just go wander in. Be like the Paranormal Podcast Center. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly. So there goes all of our money for our we have to bail people out because they got. So the ghost, the most famous ghost that is here is it is said that in the late 1800s, one of the Baptist girls, who they believe might have been a student named Constance Hagen, also went by the name Connie. She found out that she was with child, which was very much frowned upon at that age when, not only are you in school, but you were unwed. So she decided to hang herself on the second level in a place known as the Well. So it kind of is surrounded by the banisters, and then there's a really nice skylight above. And so that's where she hung herself. As a result, many people hear footsteps in and around that area. They see lights going on and off. Lots of door opening and closing in the building in general, and objects moving, as well as disembodied voices of a woman crying and being sad. There is reports of a second apparition. Now, it's unclear whether this is the same one or a different female. She is seen wandering the halls. She's often going in and out of rooms. And when she's approached, she seems very polite before she just poof disappears. So, which I guess is nice. I mean, at least she's like, I'm sorry, and disappears. And she's not like, fuck you, and then disappears. Because that would be like, what? That's the ultimate, like, slap in the face if a ghost cusses you out and then disappears. You can't do anything in return.
But that's interesting.
It is. And I mean, so that's what the picture is behind me if you were watching this on our YouTube channel, which you should do. And it's a beautiful looking building. But I find a lot of like old creepy buildings always have the same sad, spooky story. So
they do.
I didn't dig up to actually see if this particular girl, Connie, did die at a young age, specifically by hanging, if she's buried anywhere nearby. But for whatever reason, this is the rumor that has stuck with it for this whole time. So
yeah,
I don't doubt that, of that era and age group, if a young female found herself in that way, she's probably, I don't know whether she's going to kill herself, but it's going to be really awful. So it potentially could have happened.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful building, and it's a massive campus.
I looked it up too, just because I wanted to see what you were researching, and I was like, oh, that's pretty.
I know. But the photographs, which I had an older one, but it was kind of blurry, of when it was first built is very spooky. So
Yeah.
imagine they're like, congratulations, ladies. This is where you're staying. It'd be like,
Yeah.
I'll just won't educate myself. Thanks for the same.
Yeah.
Like it's spooky, especially at night. They have this like one light that lights up the front,
Yeah.
which is just they're just like, yes, ghosts come here, please.
Yeah.
The beacon.
Jeez. All right. I have Citadel Hill. So like a lot of places out there. She's got to go to the bathroom. Dog has to go outside.
Yeah, not me. I don't have
He's like, I gotta go. All right. So Citadel Hill is like our Fort Henry kind of thing. Okay. Just to give everybody a little background on it. So it is one of Canada's oldest national sites. Jay, she's got to go outside. They have 36 documented ghost sightings.
Whoa.
I know they're documenting these. These guys are real, they're real real into this. So one of the many famed ghost stories is that of Officer Edwards.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a famed lieutenant whose lover wanders around the back staircases of the building.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Apparently. Oh.
Female or male?
That's a good question. It doesn't say.
But, okay.
Doesn't say.
Okay.
So there's a second famous story of a soldier who was murdered in cold blood and thrown down a well, where his remains were found hundreds of years later. Mm-hmm. According to security guards, there is a gray lady, surprise, that walks the floors of the Cavalier building.
Okay.
She smells like roses.
Oh,
she's wearing a 19th century dress, so she's wearing a really old clothing. Mm-hmm. One of the guards has reported seeing a woman in a long white dress on the veranda that is underneath the second floor balcony. She turned around a corner of the building and disappeared.
Jeez, them ghosts, man.
Yeah. So the gray lady, they believe the gray lady is to be a woman by the name of Miss Cassie Allen. She was engaged to a soldier stationed at the Citadel. And on her wedding day, which was supposed to be November 14th, 1900, Cassie waited at the altar for her groom, and he never showed up.
Burn! Damn. Okay. Oh, wait, because he died in war, or just because he was like...
Well, the carriage driver who rode up to the Citadel to pick up the groom, only to find out from the guard that the husband-to-be had shot himself, unable to find another way to hide from his past.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because he was the lover of the general. Oh, my God.
Oh, baby! It said that the driver then went to the church to break the news to the bride, who refused to believe him and became hysterical. Okay. Yeah, clearly the truth was too hard for her to accept, and her spirit apparently still searches the grounds for her beloved fiance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what the hell were you doing in your past that you're like, I can't marry this chick, I gotta shoot myself in the head?
I don't know.
Wow.
With regard, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Jeez.
So my next one's kind of got a lot of information because it's a big place. It's the Fortress of Louisbourg.
Okay. You said there are 36
documented sightings, but not
36 separate ghosts.
No, I think they're all her.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant there were 36 different people. I'm like, oh my, how they
there could be, but most of it is the gray lady or some lady wearing white, which they assume I think is the same person. So,
right. Maybe it's an off day. Okay.
Oh. Well, we have the Fortress of Louisbourg, which is
okay.
actually a really cool place. Like I said, I've been.
This is the place that someone else stole something.
Wasn't me. Was not me. I don't take things. from.
But if you want your items back, send money to.
Listen, I don't even know where that is now. Wherever they moved,
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
even talk to them anymore. They're long gone.
Sure.
Oh my god. I'll tell you later.
Oh
So-
my gosh.
So Louisburg, which is like the, I guess, town you want to call it, started as a French settlement in 1713. So we're going way back.
Mhm.
And it quickly became a fishing port, obviously from where it's located. Then it became a commercial port, so where they would bring goods and stuff, and then a fortress. So by 1720, the walls that surround Louisburg were constructed. So yeah, when the fortress of Louisburg started with the French, but the British had their eyes on it from the beginning. They was watching.
Yes.
Seizing control of the fortress and the surrounding area was a major component of the British strategy to weaken France's colonial empire so that the British could claim control of North America. So in 1745, the British besieged Louisburg and they won and took control, but then handed it back to the French only 3 years later as part of the treaty of, what is it called? I'm gonna destroy this. The Treaty of, is it Aix-la-Chapelle,
Yep.
which apparently ended the War of the Austrian Succession. It was a very strategic diplomatic move.
Okay.
So yeah, so 1756, the 7 Years' War started due to escalating territorial and power conflicts between major European powers, especially Britain and France, over colonial possessions and trade dominance in North America and elsewhere. So in 1758, the British again besieged the fortress of Louisburg, and the French surrendered after 6 weeks, putting it back into the hands of the British. So we're really just trading it back and forth now.
Mhm.
So after recapturing the fort in 1758, the British decided that the best way to prevent a French comeback was simply to tear the place down.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So by 1760, they just demolished the fortress. Yeah,
Wow.
I know. Like, really? So by doing that, they just completely snuffed out the French. They just gone. So yeah. So let's see here. It says current estimates indicate that during the first siege in 1745, around 500 British and colonial forces and approximately 300 French troops were killed or wounded. In the second siege in 1758, British casualties numbered about 172 killed and over 300 wounded. French casualties were much higher. So between both battles, you're looking at, they say, approximately well over 1,000 casualties. That area alone.
Wow.
So the fortress of Louisburg was reconstructed in 1960.
Wow.
Yeah, because I guess they wanted it back. So it's super fun. So it has a very turbulent history of violence and death. And so it's no wonder why people talk about seeing ghosts there.
Mhm.
And particularly the ones making these, claims that they're seeing ghosts are obviously the people who work there and are doing reenactments.
Of course.
Well,
Because imagine so you're a ghost and all of a sudden these people dress up just like you and do the thing that happened to you that died. You'd be like,
Yeah.
what? Wow.
yeah. So the whole area around the fortress has tons of ghosts, like paranormal sightings and stuff. So one of the most well-known is the spirit of a French soldier who patrols the grounds near the King's Bastion. Visitors and staff alike have reported seeing him, and he is often described as sorrowful, with a weathered uniform marked with signs of battle. And some say he's easier to find on foggy nights.
What?
I guess he just
Easier to find on foggy nights.
I thought ghosts were like mists. How would you see that in the fog?
Yeah, that.
Well, you never know. Maybe they're different out in Nova Scotia.
Mhm.
And here we go. Another frequently reported sighting is that of a white lady.
Of course.
She
You mean a
walks
woman in
along.
white?
Yeah, because we apparently when we die, we don't know any other color to wear other than blue, gray, or white.
Mm-hmm.
And
Those
could
are the
come back in
choices.
some hot pink.
Do you think, like, when you die, you go over and they're like, okay, you want to go back? And you're like, yeah, I'll go with the ghost. And they're like, okay, here's your wardrobe. And those are the only three options. And for the men, it's like, so you can be a soldier or a headless man. Like, that's it. There's
Hey, listen.
a man in a suit. That's it. There's no, like, go-go dancer. Although last week we did one with a flapper dress lady.
Yeah.
Maybe she snuck in there. I don't know. But yeah, there's no one like wearing a mascot outfit by accident and suffocate in there. And then they come back wearing big birds thing. Like nothing. Then what about the naked people who slip and fall in the bathroom? Do they ever come back naked? No, they always.
You know what's going to
have
happen, right? We are going to come across some naked ghosts somewhere.
Yes, this weekend when you guys are doing your investigation at that place. There. Ha ha ha.
I hope I can get a picture for you.
That's quite all right. From the description of what Ryan told me they look like, I don't need to see it.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, this white lady is often seen at dusk walking the ramparts. According to some, she was the wife of an officer who died at the fortress, and she's still looking for her husband. So some also report that when she's around, they say that the temperature drops, and you can occasionally hear wailing, so crying, like really loud crying. There's also been a sighting of a ghostly nurse exhibiting the same behavior, so it is unclear if they are one and the same or two completely different entities.
I feel like we need to start a support group for these female ghosts who are endlessly looking for their husbands. Because it's getting kind of ridiculous. Yeah. Girl, move on. He's moved on. You don't see him wandering around looking for you. No, he's crossed over. He's found all the girls not in white dresses.
See?
So I'm just saying.
So close to the fortress stands the Louisburg Lighthouse, and it was built in 1734. It's still operating, and it makes it the oldest operational lighthouse in North America. There have been sightings of the lighthouse keeper, who sometimes walks a path outside carrying a lantern. And on stormy nights, an unsettling moaning can be heard above the rain, thunder, and crashing waves.
Oh.
Yeah.
Unsettling moan. Okay.
Yeah. But back in the fortress, there are also tales of a young drummer boy who was killed during one of the sieges, and that his ghost sometimes still drums during the night.
That's creepy. You know what? My aunt and uncle in England, did I say uncle? Uncle. What the heck? They owned a hotel in England, and it had the ghost of a little drummer boy. I don't know all the details of it at another episode, but my parents slept over, and my dad said it got really cold, and they were like, what the? And then they heard the little drumming. Imagine.
I don't know if I'd be able to handle that in the middle of the night.
Yeah. I'd be like, turn your shit down.
Oh my gosh.
That is kind of creepy.
Yeah, well, staff have also said that they've heard a baby crying in the middle of the night, only to find nothing when they go looking, which I think is just as creepy.
Yeah.
They possibly think the next one is related to the white lady, but there have also been reports of a woman in a long flowing dress seen in the windows of officer quarters, and some say that she was one of the many victims of a devastating outbreak of a disease. And then the ghost is said to leave behind the scent of floral perfume in places she's been seen. Maybe it's the same ghost from the Citadel who smells like roses.
I was literally just about to say, did we not just have this? Can we stop repeating ghosts where we go, please? Is that what it is? You've got to pick a character when you cross over, and they're like, listen, you can go back as the woman in right, smelling like perfume, go. That's it.
So
that's your character.
The next one that people say that they see is that there is a troublesome spirit that lingers in the bakery. It is said to throw objects at people, sometimes shoving them and occasionally moving around the large machinery. Well, guess what? Fort Henry in Kingston has something very, very similar, except it doesn't move machinery.
Wow. Are you sure it's not one of the imps from the Christmas episode, the bowl liquor or whatever, that used to do stuff in the kitchen?
Know.
They're going to get tied into every episode we ever do now, just so you know.
So here's the thing. One theory of the hauntings at the fortress claim that when people are buried in unmarked graves or the graves are disturbed, it wakes up the dead. So it turns out that there's an old cemetery near the fortress that dates back to the 18th century, the time of all the battles. Supposedly, many of the casualties from those battles were buried in unmarked graves there. Mm-hmm. Over time, erosion started washing away the remains. And then in 2017, students from the University of New Brunswick, along with Parks Canada, begin to dig up approximately 1,000 coastal graves and relocate them before they washed out into the ocean.
Wow.
So maybe they don't like that. Well, you're disturbing their final resting place, right? But you're moving them for the good. It's not like you're moving them just to move them.
Yeah.
That's the Fortress of Louisbourg. It's a really cool place.
It sounds like a really cool place.
Maybe one day we'll go.
Yes. And you can return whatever you stole the first time. Anyway,
I did not take nothing. I am not that type of person.
Was it bones? Did someone dig up bones? What got stolen? Is it like valuable?
Could be.
Oh my God.
I don't think it is, but
no, say no more.
It wasn't something that they took from a house or anything on the in the building.
It's jewels. I get it. Okay. And said person maybe still has it. We could sell it to get out of jail for. You've been holding on to it for so long.
It's in their garden at home at their old house. Maybe still. I don't know.
Very interesting.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, we'll move on to another one of mine. This is called Seal Island. It is in Yarmouth County. It is the southwestern point of Nova Scotia. It is the home of the oldest wooden lighthouse in Canada. So we've got some prestigious lighthouses up and around in this country. So it's surrounded by the Atlantic Ocean, and it's the biggest of 5 islands in its little group. Due to the bad currents and the hidden reefs, many shipwrecks occurred in this area. And the bodies from the shipwreck would often wash up onto Seal Island. Many unfortunate souls who survived their shipwreck would get washed ashore only to die later from exposure from starvation, because it was literally just rocks. Like, it was just an island. There's nothing on it. So it became so bad that in the 1800s, the early 1800s, preachers would travel to the island in the spring and the fall so that they could collect and bury the bodies that had been washed up in there. Ooh, what a job. There's many bodies that were buried on this island in very shallow graves, and it was said that one day 21 bodies were buried when they went over there. That's how many people started to wash up. In 1823, 2 families, the Hitchens and the Crowells, were granted permission to reside on the island. They were fishermen, and so they fished for a living. And then in 1837, they convinced the government to build a wharf, which then later housed and became where the lighthouse is. Over time, they created 2 villages, and those villages are still there today. There haven't been any inhabitants since 1990, but there are summer rentals, so you can go there and stay in the summertime, which they should do like paranormal things, especially if there's like a lot of bodies going on. So the most famous ghost and sighting is from in 1891, the SS Ottawa sank. And out of the whole crew, 3 crewmen and 1 stewardess who was named Annie Lindsay swam to a nearby life raft and climbed in. Due to the terrible currents, it was overturned and they started getting battered around. The 3 men managed to climb back in, and Annie they dragged in and found out that she was dead. They all got washed ashore, and so they decided to bury her, and she was buried at the east end of the church. I guess there's a church there now. I don't know. That's what it says. And there is actually a head marker for her. But later, when she was exhumed, I'm assuming when her family maybe were like, we want her back, they discovered that inside her coffin was signs that she was potentially buried alive. So who really knows what happened between those 3 men and Annie? Because they all survived conveniently and she did not. Who knows? So she is said to actually haunt the village, and the residents at the time were absolutely terrified of her. She's often seen wandering around the villages and around the grave areas. And then there's lots of disembodied voices that you can hear, more so out towards the ocean, especially on stormy nights. But if that many people, I mean, most of them drowned in the waters, but they would be thrashed against the rocks, and then their bodies are buried. I'm not sure if they removed them. There's actually not anything else about other than they just buried them in shallow graves. So I don't know if there's just some like mass grave area that they would just pile them in, or if they actually buried them nicely in specific little graves. But what a job. What a job. Oh, it's springtime. I'm off to collect the bodies.
You a body collector now.
Yeah, like, geez.
That's awful. That's kind of gross.
It is. And to know, I mean, thank goodness finally the lighthouse came along, which obviously made a massive difference because I didn't read anything else about that. So really, these 2 families that randomly were like, let's go inhabit that island where all the bodies wash up. I don't know, whatever.
Whoever made that decision.
They were like, let's take our kids there and have a great life. They were kind of instrumental in having that lighthouse eventually put up there, which saved obviously hundreds of lives thereon after. So you obviously can go there. I'm not entirely sure what's on there for you. I mean, you can go stay in the rentals. They're little villages, so there must be little restaurants and shops there.
They are definitely probably like a summer destination where things are open from like May to October.
That's 100%. I don't even know that you'd want to go, clearly, because it's not a very good place to get to. So, yeah, you're probably not going to want to go there in the hazardous wintertime, or you're going to become one of the permanent residents in your own little shallow grave.
Oh my gosh.
But her, I mean, this Annie Lindsay, her grave marker is still there. I don't believe she is still there, but her grave marker is still there to kind of honor the fact that she was there and whatever. So it's, you know, an interesting thing.
We should go too.
At least she wasn't like the woman in white. No.
Hey, at least she's not wearing. Well, is she wearing white, gray, or blue?
It doesn't say.
Oh.
She didn't have clothing. I don't
Maybe
know.
she's one of those naked spirits. I don't know.
Could be.
Oh my gosh. All right. So now I found a restaurant in Halifax. It's called Five Fishermen.
Sure.
It's like Five Guys now.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's the East Coast version.
Yeah, just, you know, instead of burgers and hot dogs, you get fish.
I was gonna make a very terrible joke, but
oh my gosh. Yeah, so it's a restaurant, and the staff are so used to the stuff that happens there, they don't even bat an eye anymore of all the activity. Taps turn on by themselves with no assistance. One server said that they were there late one night and they were the only one left in the dining room. as they were checking the lights near the salad bar, because they have a salad bar. They heard someone go through the swinging doors that led down to the kitchen. They quickly turned around to see the doors swing shut, but there was no one there.
Ooh.
A waitress tells of being there late at night as she was nearing the grand stairwell that leads down to the maitre d' stand. She saw a gray apparition, a fog-like mass moving down the staircase, but that's all she saw because she was like, nope.
She's out of there.
Yeah. Many of the staff members will tell you that they feel the feeling of passing through a cold air pocket on the warmest of nights, and the sensation of what it feels like to have a spirit move through you.
Oh,
creepy.
Again, not gonna go there with the joke.
So they say it's also not uncommon to hear voices, especially your name being whispered or even called out when there is no one else around.
Cool.
Yeah. In the middle of one busy night, a server was using one of the debit machines. When he felt a tap on his shoulder, he turned around to say, "What?" And there was nobody there.
So what's the history of the place?
That is a good question. Do I have it
Like,
on here?
I wonder what would make it haunted. I mean,
I have just a lot of like, I don't know. It's an old building that's in town. So I'm just wondering if it's just something to do with the building itself. I really don't have any. I just have all of like this information about what people have been seeing.
well, and it was in Halifax, you said, right?
Yeah, it's in
Halifax. Has got quite a
super haunted.
Super
haunted. So behind the salad bar, because apparently the salad bar is really popular there. There's a private room called the captain's quarters, and it's commonly referred to as the PR by the staff that work there. So PR, private room. One night after all the customers have left, a waiter passed the room and heard two people arguing. The voices of a man and woman. When he went to investigate, the voices stopped. The room was empty.
Ooh.
Yep.
Cool. I love it when a place is so notoriously haunted that the people are like, yeah, Frank or whatever. They just know it.
Oh, there's like
just
tons,
happens.
like tons of things here. People having interactions. Again, the damn salad bar seems to be pretty popular with the living and the dead. Because here you go. So the assistant manager was having a conversation with a customer on the phone at the station across from the salad bar. They saw an elderly man standing on the landing below. After he finished the conversation on the phone, the assistant manager went down to help the gentleman, but he had disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah. So a lot of activity, sightings, and stuff at the Five Fishermen. So yeah, if you've been there, let us know. If you know the history, like of the building, let us know, because now I'm interested, because I couldn't find any history of the building, just of the dead people that are now haunting the restaurant.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I also have the Posset House that's in Cape Breton. So it is one of the oldest buildings on Cape Breton Island, and it depicts life in the 18th century Sydney. So Sydney's a place over there. That's where I went. And at the time, the original owner was Reverend Rana Cosset, his wife Thankful. Yes, her name is Thankful. And 10 of their 13 children.
Okay.
So visitors have reported hearing footsteps, voices, and even screaming coming from different rooms of the house.
Yeah, they have 13 children.
Yeah. That is literally all I have about that place. And it intrigues me. I really want to visit it.
Oh, yeah. What happened? Why are you screaming?
Yeah, why are you
Who
screaming?
the hell names their child Thankful? Ridiculous.
Don't ask. I don't know. People back then just named people random things. It's like today when people name their kids after fruit.
Hmm.
This is my child, Banana. Like, I have banana and carrot. Like, what do you want? Like,
This is pomegranate. Oh.
oh, fuck. Anyways, so next on my list is, and I'm probably going to butcher this one too, is Uniac Estate Museum. It's, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, this is in Uniac, Nova Scotia. It is obviously it's an estate museum. It's about 30 miles because, we're American here. Anyways, from Halifax. So the house was built between 1813 and 1815 by a Richard John Uniacke. He was the former Attorney General of Nova Scotia, and this was his summer home.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It is located on the edge of Martha Lake, which is also part of the estate, and was named for Mr. Uniacke's deceased wife, Martha Maria. So there are two spirits that are said to linger at Mount Uniacke. One is that of Mr. Uniacke's own wife, Martha. It is not known why she should haunt this place, as she never actually knew the house.
Oh.
Yeah. She died in 1803. Uniacke was left with 11 children to raise. 3 of them were under the age of 10. It is said, however, that he was completely devoted to his wife, and after the date of her death, for the consideration of affairs connected with this. Well, I don't know what that meant, but whatever. Anyways, the other spirit that is said to stay there is that of Lady Mary Mitchell. So Lady Mary was Richard Uniacke's eldest daughter. So she was born on October 16th, 1782. So Mr. Uniacke had instilled in his children the conscience of their heritage. So they're sure that Mary knew that the general expectation of her was that she would marry well, which she did at the age of 23 when she married Vice Admiral Sir Andrew Mitchell, Commander-in-Chief of the North American Station.
I see.
Yeah. So some of the reported ghost sightings is that one person tells of seeing Lady Mary Mitchell playing the pianoforte. I should say that right. In the front parlor, with her mother Martha seated close by in a favorite chair.
Oh, a dual ghost.
And they see the two of them walking arm in arm along the lake, and sometimes just sitting quietly somewhere inside the house.
That's kind of a rare one.
I know.
See, like,
that's kind of cool.
That is. So they found each other. They found each other in the afterlife and haunt together.
Yeah, so
very interesting.
Okay, so she was born in 1782 and her mother died in 1803. So she was what, like 82 to 21?
Cool.
Yeah. So that's that one. I also have Lunenburg Academy. So the Lunenburg Academy was built in 1895 and it operated as a school continuously to 2012.
Oh.
Yeah. It stands on Gallows Hill. Probably should look that one up.
Right.
Close to the Hillcrest Cemetery, dating back to the 1700s. Mm-hmm. I wonder why it's called Gallows Hill.
I don't think that's just like a nice name. I think it had a purpose, clearly.
Oh, I bet you it did. I bet you it had a few trees back then too. Yeah. So a carpenter working alone in the school one day felt the hair on the back of his neck start standing up. So he turned around and saw a man strung up by his neck before it vanished. Hey, that makes sense now. I was joking.
Okay.
I was literally joking about the tree. Didn't realize that. Anyways, the building's basement was nicknamed the Dungeon by students.
Oh. Okay.
Thanks to an evil feeling that permeated from the space and the rumors of a dark creature inhabiting one of the toilet stalls. Was that creature named Jay? You can't hear me right now.
Oh, that's great.
Recently, I guess there was a film crew there, and they captured the image of a face on a window in the academy. When the image was circulated, it was identified in a school yearbook as Mr. Sidney Nickel, a past custodian and caretaker.
Oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah, but I still like to know who the evil dark creature that is inhabiting a toilet stall is.
I think that's just something they've said and be like, oh, it wasn't me that left that nasty mess and smell. It was the
More than
creature in the dungeon.
More than likely. And last but not least on my list, because we are in Nova Scotia, we got to talk about the water again and boats.
Okay.
So we have the Young Teaser at Mahone Bay. So the Young Teaser was a United States privateer schooner, so a boat, that captured 12 British vessels. Five of them that had made their way to American ports. So a member of her crew blew her up at Mahone Bay in Nova Scotia during the War of 1812 after a series of British warships chased her and after HMS Hogue trapped her. So the schooner became famous for this deadly explosion which killed most of her crew and for the folklore about the ghostly teaser light. So the boat was constructed in New York City in the early 1813 area. It was a sleek black schooner that was about 75 feet long and copper hulled. Had 12 and 15 pounder guns, which would deliver the threat of severe damage to any enemy vessel. Plus, it had a carved alligator head, jaws open to strike, that adorned her bow.
Wow.
No mermaids, just an alligator, because those are more terrifying, apparently. Yeah. If there was no wind, it had 16 long oars to provide power. So you would be rowing that boat.
Wow.
Yeah. So the pirate ship was named after another vessel, Teaser, whose crew was captured and jailed in Halifax in 1812. Given privilege as officer of the ship, a Captain Frederick Johnson was given parole on sworn covenant of never acting against the British again. Should the captain fail to fall in line, the penalty would be the noose.
Oh.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the helm of this boat was Captain W.B. Dobson, a pirate who enjoyed his raucous seafaring work. I almost want to be a pirate. That'd be fun. On May 10th, 1813, Young Teaser sailed out of port on her first voyage. Within 3 days, the schooner's 12-pounders were firing on British ships. 2 weeks later, the Young Teaser was in the sights of the British, and it was trapped in Halifax Harbor. So Dobson confidently passed off his crew and ship as a prize vessel that he gained. The jig worked. So his little plan worked, especially since he hoisted the Union Jack flag on the mast.
Nice.
So slipping safely out of enemy reach, Dobson arrogantly challenged the captain of an enormous 74-gun HMS La Hogue to engage. Recognizing an opportunity to eliminate the pesky Young Teaser, the captain of HMS La Hogue accepted the challenge on June 27th, 1813, and the duel at sea was on. Fight. Dobson, so the Young Teaser was caught off guard. Yep, so evading capture, the Young Teaser headed out to sea. The British gave chase and were not going to let the pirate ship go this time. Yeah.
So instead he just blew it up.
Yep. For 18 tortured-filled hours, Captain Dobson dodged and swerved, zigged and zagged, looking to duck the Young Teaser into a cove or bay. Heading into low water, the captain was certain the bigger ships would not be able to close in. When the I have it here. It says, when the bay grew too shallow for his warship captain, Capel lowered La Hogue's 5 boats, so the other captain of the other ship, he lowered his 5 boats, each with a carronade mounted on her bow and laden with armed sailors. So he's like, yeah, I'm just going to drop these little guys in and he's going to go after him. So there was nowhere left for Dobson to hide with little Teaser. At last, he entered the mouth of Chester's Harbor, and then the boat ran aground a short distance from Quaker Island. So the overconfident Dobson realized escape was impossible at this point. He's realized he's SOL. He was pounded by enemy artillery. He gathered his officers to examine the situation and figured there's got to be some way out. So Lieutenant Johnson, who was told not to defy the British again, panicked because he's dead. He's a dead man walking now. Yeah, he dishonored his parole and would be straight away hung by the neck if the British got their hands on him. So he just left this meeting with Dobson. He left in quiet desperation. He's yeah. When he came back, he was observed rushing toward the gunpowder magazine with a hot coal in his hands. Yeah. Although his intentions were obvious, no one tried to stop him. Yeah.
Okay.
Certainly. So the young Teaser exploded in a geranium colored, so they had to, it's a beautiful colors. Burst of flames that lit up the night sky and rocked the shores of Mahone Bay as far as 12 miles away. Yeah. It is quoted that her whole after part was blown to the heavens, but the rest of her hull continued to float for several hours.
Jeez.
28 crewmen died in the intense blast. 9 men survived, 2 of them horribly maimed.
Oh dear.
All of them were thrown into the water. Surprise.
So what's the haunting? Like, where is it haunted out in the ocean?
So, yeah, it's like people see the ship still. So here's an even better part. Local residents, apparently this is a big thing in Nova Scotia. Local residents took on the gruesome task of collecting the burnt remains of the deceased sailors from the watery wreckage.
Oh, yikes.
Could you imagine your job back then? I'm a body collector. Like, several were buried in the St. Stephen's Anglican Church Cemetery in Chester. So, literally a year after this disaster, a ghostly ship materialized in the foggy darkness in a burst of fire and screams. And then the vessel just evaporated into the night. So
that would be pretty terrifying if that keeps reenacting. If the whole explosion does.
Yeah, that first sighting happened in 1813, right after, like a year after.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Pieces of the ship apparently were saved and preserved, including a post and beam of the rope loft, post and beam at the Rope Loft restaurant in Chester, Nova Scotia. So pieces of the ship are apparently still around.
Okay.
Yeah. And then before we end all of this, I should say that this little just disappeared in my couch. This.
I got my glasses on to look at this.
This right here. Another ship disaster. And another thing that Nova Scotians did was collect bodies. And these are Titanic graves.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So we've got all of this. And a lot of these graves here just have numbers on them because they don't know who the people are, which would be very interesting to go and see. Ghost box session, find out.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
One of the places I didn't get to visit in Halifax because they have a whole museum about it too, right? So, and yes, everybody, there is a J. Dawson grave, but his name wasn't Jack. I think it was John or something like that. Yeah.
Well, you all know the story of how that happened. So,
so that is, I guess, our haunted Nova Scotia
Mm-hmm.
road trip.
Most definitely. If you're allowed back in there after today's episode, and they'll be like,
It's
"We
not me.
found her." Sure.
I am a good girl. I don't do that shit. I don't. But yeah. So, but if you know of any other haunted places in Nova Scotia that we didn't talk about, we'd love to hear about it. So you can send us an email, you can post on our social media, whatever. But if you want to send us an email, it's paranormalpodcast@gmail.com. PAREHNORMAL podcast@gmail.com. And then you can find us on Instagram and Facebook by just searching up Paranormal Podcast. And we do have TikTok because it's not banned here in Canada.
Yay!
You can
Not
find
that I'm on it.
our awful face pictures.
They're the best. They're the best.
They are. They really are. They're absolutely horrible, but they're great.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah, and because this one here is leaving us for a week, next week you just get to deal with me.
Yeah, I will be thinking of you guys.
No, you won't.
I won't. I won't at all.
No,
I won't.
No.
I'll bring back the heat, okay? That's the deal.
Oh my gosh, please. Because it's
Will
supposed
do.
to be minus fuck this out there this week. And you are going to be in nice, I don't know, is it humid there? Because I've never been.
Honestly, I don't even know what the weather is like or temp. It's just hot, warm, sunny, nice. It's not minus
Fuck this.
lost your tits off, so that's good. That's all I care about.
It's not nipply.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Well, enjoy everyone.
Yeah, we need to end this now. Because, you know. Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Okay, have a great week, everyone. And
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
No. Thank you.